Welcome to week 4 of our Blooming to You mini series. We've journeyed through grounding, self awareness, and tending our energy, and now we arrive at the heart of it all, living in full bloom. Today, we're talking about what it means to live soul aligned and to tune into your natural rhythms. I'm so excited to welcome Patricia Peters with us, modern shaman and empowerment coach, to guide us through this powerful conversation about stepping into our truth and blooming fully into who we're meant to be. So, welcome, Patricia. Thank you for joining me again.
Hello, Michaela. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure for me and an honor.
So, we have been talking about, blooming all month. And so, we're going to wrap it up with, coming into full bloom. So, let's just jump in. So, you often speak about living soul aligned. What does it mean to bloom fully in your truth? And how can someone start to live more in tune with their natural rhythm?
Okay, so first answer to your first question first. Living soul aligned, living in your truth. So, first of all, of course, it starts with being completely honest and true to yourself.
Yeah.
So it's necessary to do some self-inquiry or self-inventory, if you will. So you really need to know, what are my core values? What is important to me? What do I never want to get compromised at no cost? And then on the other side, of course, what are my goals, my wishes, my dreams, my desires, big ones and small ones? So a lot of people, they focus too much on the big ones,
Right.
Building a business, buying a house, whatever. But life actually consists of thousands and thousands of teeny tiny goals, dreams, achievements, wishes, desires, And when you want to reach big goals, there is no way around small goals, because you can't jump straight to a huge goal. It usually takes you a lot of steps. So I think it's important to focus on the small steps, on the small wishes and goals. And that's also good, so you don't get frustrated when it takes too long. You don't get overwhelmed, because a lot of times we overwhelm ourselves because we have too high expectations, and usually it's in terms of the timing, because the bigger the goal, oftentimes it takes, of course, longer time. So this is also part of your self-inventory. And then also, what are my boundaries? What do I tolerate and what do I do not tolerate? And the list goes on and on and on. Basically, whatever is very, very important for you. So, and once you know this, you then so this was more the kind of the mental part of it. So once you know all of this, you need to start living by your values. You need to speak your truth, even if it's uncomfortable, and it will be, people will challenge you and stuff like that. So it needs a lot of presence and awareness. And what's very helpful, of course, and important is your environment. And by environment, I'm meaning people. Are they supportive? The people you surround yourself with, are they supportive? Are they inspiring? Do they want to see you bloom, or are they jealous? For example, are they naysayers? So this also goes into the equation. So so it's quite a package. And so you need to break it down step by step.
Okay. So basically, like, breaking it down, what you're saying is part of what also helps you to live in your natural rhythm as well, and be more in tune with yourself and where you go and what you want to do and all of that stuff. So in the flow, if you will.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Flow. And So with your own natural rhythm, it's kind of the same, or it's actually very similar. So you need to discover, you need to know or find out, what is my natural rhythm or rhythms,
Mm.
am I an early bird, for example, or a night owl, and then align your natural rhythms with the rhythms of nature surrounding you,
Yeah.
and start arranging your lifestyle around those rhythms. And of course, as much as it's possible, because we have work, we have family, we have friends, so it's not 100%, that you can always live by your natural rhythm, but try to kind of figure out a way, find a way to arrange your schedule,
Yeah.
around your natural rhythms, and then start implementing healthy habits. And mm, what I like to encourage people to always start with the stuff that comes naturally to you
Yeah.
and that you like, and that's what brings you joy, because otherwise you will not follow through, and it must be joyful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself. That's important. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's so powerful, what you've brought forth. And I can speak from experience too, how everything has changed for me once I realized what my natural rhythm was, and then just adjusted everything else accordingly, and
Mhm.
not be so pressured into what was expected of me, or what, for instance, like when I see clients, it's not the standard 9 to 5 like a regular business, because my energy doesn't flow that way. So I've found that I can be better for my clients and be there for them better when I'm in my right energy mode, which
Mhm.
means that I don't do early morning appointments, unless that's absolutely the only time that, they can do it, because I do have some clients that are in different time zones.
Yeah.
But I know when I'm at my best, and I know when I can provide my best. So I've kind of adjusted accordingly. So yeah, so I can understand why you say those two are so connected, and how knowing yourself
Mhm.
and knowing, your rhythms can help you make the changes that you need to be your best self and to
Yes,
bloom
because
forward
there
too.
is no general recipe as in one fits all. You really, really need to know yourself, and then listen to your body. Listen to your body, but also listen to your emotions, and listen also to your mind. Like, listen to everything, because they will tell you if you're on the right track or
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So here's my follow up for you. So, what blocks do you commonly see that keep women? I know you're a women's empowerment coach mostly, but for anyone, so women or people in general, from fully embracing the power or blooming into who they really are, because that's what we've been talking about all month. It's about blooming to you. So, it's about blooming into who you really are. So, what are some of the blocks that you commonly see?
Okay, so of course now I'm speaking mainly to women because I can't, from my own experience, so okay, so when you look at it from the outside, there seem to be many, many different blocks, because of course everyone is
Mhm.
different, and everyone is unique and individual, and has their own challenges and issues and lifestyle and situation. However, once you start digging deep, and once you go deep enough, the root cause usually is some kind of fear.
Mhm.
And fear is around bad consequences. Consequences. So and it's totally natural, we want to avoid negative consequences.
Right.
No, especially when we speak up for ourselves, or when we take a stance, or when we are saying our truth, which is not always comfortable for everyone. And so we do not get applauded every time. So that's the main fear. So there could be some negative outcome come out of it. And of course, we try to avoid the negative. we avoid, and then we also tend to avoid fear oftentimes, and then we freeze, and the fear can show up, for example, or the fears can show
Mhm.
up, for example, as subconscious beliefs that do not serve you.
Yeah.
It can show up very commonly as negative self-talk or negative feelings. We feel uncomfortable, we feel shy, we feel afraid. So all kinds of negative feelings, individual for everyone.
Mhm.
And also, of course, self-sabotaging beliefs that prevent us from doing what we love to do, or from fully blooming, fully stepping into our natural power. So they can show up in very, very many different ways. And sometimes they can show up in a way that something always comes up, or something's
Mhm.
always happening, either inner resistance or outer problems. So, but usually the root core is some kind of fear that something negative will happen to me, you know.
Yeah.
And that's actually, so of course most fears are psychological and
Right.
um, not logical, of course, you know. um, However, a lot of those fears are not necessarily from our own bad experience, but oftentimes they are inherited even,
Mhm.
or very primordial fears, some kind of, yeah, and then we avoid, and avoiding the negative consequences is a kind of a coping mechanism or even a survival mechanism. Because
Okay.
especially in women, so one of the biggest fears is, once I step into my power, or once I'm louder or stand out, I
Yeah.
could be rejected,
Yeah.
or even persecuted. And it was like this for powerful women when you go back in history.
Yeah.
So, and some of those energies are still kind of have some power because they are still in the subconscious collective field.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think this is kind of the biggest block.
Wow. Well, thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. So, what really stands out here is that blooming fully isn't about forcing or striving, it's about releasing what holds us back and aligning with the natural flow of who we really are. And when we honor that, we step into a life of authenticity, power, and
Mhm.
ease. So,
Mhm.
thank you for joining us today. Do you have like some parting words of wisdom or encouragement that you would like to offer the viewers and listeners here today?
Yes. So we talked about power, stepping into the power. Um, Power also is different for everyone. So it can be very subtle. It can be very calm and quiet. A lot of women, they are afraid because they think, yeah, power is negative, or it's loud and I'm not a loud person, or I'm more of an introvert. So power also can come in all kinds of forms and shapes, So really do the self-inquiry and honor who you really are, and listen to your deepest desires, to your really, really deepest desires. And sometimes they are very subtle. So acknowledge them, honor yourself, and then be gentle with yourself and patient, and start slowly, step by step, and celebrate every single little win.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you again, Patricia, for being here and closing out our Blooming to You series with such wisdom and heart. To everyone watching, your fullest bloom comes when you trust your rhythm, honor
Mhm,
your truth, and allow yourself to unfold naturally.
mhm.
Keep blooming, and remember, wellness isn't a destination, it's your daily journey. I'll
Yeah.
see you again soon. Bye.
Bye. Mhm.